This has already been a ridiculously hectic week in the NBA world, with two massive blockbuster deals having already gone down in the span of less than 24 hours, but the craziness is definitely not going to stop there. The trade deadline is in 2 days, and between then and now, there is still a lot that needs to be sorted out from some major storylines that have been unfolding. This brings us to today's video, where I'm going to be tossing out 4 bold predictions for what I believe is about to go down on the trade market before the deadline arrives, with these predictions not necessarily being what most expect to happen or want to happen, but I have a sneaky suspicion they will be what end up happening. Before we start though, it turns out a good amount of you watching right now aren't even subscribed to the channel. So if you enjoy the content, consider hitting the subscribe button, as not only does it help out a ton, but I'd also very much appreciate it. Now with that being said, let's begin. The first bold prediction we'll be making for the upcoming trade deadline is that Jimmy Butler is going to end up staying put in Miami. I know this is definitely not how anyone is expecting that saga to end, but I have a bad feeling that the Heat are going to end up calling Jimmy's bluff and refuse to cave on his demands. It's been a few weeks now since Jimmy Butler publicly requested a trade from the Miami Heat, and all of it was an unsurprising result after the tension between him and Heat president Pat Riley had been brewing since the end of last season. We've seen players feud with their team's front offices in the past, and a lot of the time, the player ends up just making their intentions clear and then falling back until a deal gets done, but the way the Heat have been handling things tells me they don't plan on making this a typical trade request situation. Instead of simply bowing down to Butler's demands, the Heat have chosen to suspend Butler twice now for conduct detrimental to the team, trying to send the message that they're not going to be bullied into doing anything that they don't want to do. Pat Riley himself came out and said that he does not plan to trade Jimmy Butler despite the distractions as well, but of course, since that quote, Butler has continually reiterated his request, so the reasonable thing to do in the eyes of many would be for the team to just give in and trade him to put all of this behind them, but Pat Riley is not someone who backs down from things like this. In one of the more recent reports that came out about Butler and Riley's face-to-face meetings, it said that Butler made it clear that he would opt into next season's player option of his contract only as a way to be used as a trade chip, making it clear that he would not sign an extension with Miami. Which obviously gives the Heat more reason to get rid of him, but the fact that next season is already being brought up in their conversations tells me there isn't enough time to figure everything out in the next few days, and that they're going to be stuck with each other at least until the summertime. Our next bold prediction for the trade deadline this year is that the Golden State Warriors are about to finally take a big swing at a star. The Warriors started the season red hot, sitting in first place in the Western Conference standings near the end of November. But since then, they've come crashing back down to reality and aren't even in a playoff or play-in spot in the standings, currently being in 11th place in the West. The West is loaded with potential playoff hopefuls this year, with 11 teams having winning records, so mediocrity is not enough right now, and the Warriors can't run the risk of missing the playoffs again this year, so the sense of pressure and urgency to find themselves a boost is being felt. Quite a few reports have been coming out over the last few days about the Warriors approaching countless front offices, making their intentions clear that they are interested in taking a big swing, and among the stars included in their inquiries include Giannis Antetokounmpo and Paul George. Giannis seems like the longest of long shots because there isn't anything indicating that he or the Bucks plan to make him available, but after the Luka Doncic trade, you just never know, I guess. And Paul George's first season in Philadelphia has not been going well at all, so if the Sixers end up choosing to be sellers in the next few days, the Warriors could potentially be a team willing to take his contract on. Those are just 2 examples that have been leaked by the media too. I'm sure they've called countless other teams asking about the availability of other big stars, and the main point here is that after balking on making big trades in each of the last few seasons, the Warriors really need to get one done this season, or else they're doomed to an early flameout yet again. Our next bold prediction for the trade deadline is that the New Orleans Pelicans will be unloading everyone that they possibly can. The Pelicans season has been just about as big of a failure as it possibly can be, with them sitting in 14th place in the Western Conference standings, giving the rebuilding Trailblazers a run for their money for that last place spot. The Pelicans entered the season fully expecting to vie for a spot in the playoffs, with somewhat realistic dreams of making a playoff run. They went out and traded for DeJounte Murray in the offseason, and him, Zion Williamson, Brandon Ingram, CJ McCollum, Trey Murphy, and Herb Jones make for a pretty formidable squad on paper. The problem, though, is that the game is not played on paper, and everything that could go wrong for them has gone wrong. Injuries have plagued this group all season long, with every player that I just named having missed at least 13 games, and half of them have missed over half of the Pelicans' games so far this season. There isn't any chemistry between them when they are on the court together, none of them even look like they want to be there half the time, and it's getting increasingly difficult to believe there is any kind of future with this core. Brandon Ingram hits free agency this summer anyway, so trading him is a must right now during this lost season. Zion Williamson is just not the franchise cornerstone he was drafted to be, and still can't be relied upon to stay healthy, and DeJounte Murray is out for the year with an Achilles injury. All three of those guys should be actively being shopped right now. CJ McCollum could honestly be someone that pops up in a surprise trade as well if they really want to clean house, and just keep players like Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, and Yves Missy, and start a rebuild from there. And finally, our last bold prediction for the trade deadline is that one or more unexpected stars are going to still be traded this trade deadline. The biggest names associated with the trade deadline leading up to it have been De'Aaron Fox, Zach LaVine, Jimmy Butler, and Brandon Ingram. The first two have already been traded. I said earlier in this video I think Butler ends up staying put, and Brandon Ingram will almost assuredly be on the move too, but outside of that, I think we'll see one more big deal happen a bit out of the blue. I mentioned earlier that the Warriors have asked about guys like Giannis Antetokounmpo and Paul George, and while I'm not saying that those are the players who are exactly who I have in mind, it just goes to show how many players' names actually pop up in these conversations between general managers when trying to get something done. Trae Young could be a sneaky name to watch if the Hawks opt out of permanent life of mediocrity and could free him to greener pastures. Miles Turner is another player who's a sneaky name that could end up becoming available, as the Pacers have not really been on the same page as him in their contract extension negotiations. Chris Middleton of the Bucks has been made available for an upgrade if there's one to be had. The Suns will probably try their best to shop Bradley Beal and his massive contract. LaMelo Ball could draw a ton of interest if the Hornets choose to make him available, as their season has become a lost cause, and so many more possibilities that could pop up that may not be in the public eye right now would shock a lot of people if they were to happen. It's about to be an exciting few days, and the league could look completely different by the end of the week, so let's strap in and enjoy the ride. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below what your bold prediction for the trade deadline is. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.